Hello again, welcome back everyone. LiquorHound here with you. Thank you for joining me for another spirit review video. Today we're going to be reviewing the Orphan Barrel Project lineup of bourbons that has been released to us from Diageo. Now beginning in 2013 when they released the old Blowhard and followed very quickly by Barterhouse, those two came out. I tried them, I kind of liked them, but I wanted to wait to do a review until I at least had 3 or 4. Well, finally they followed the Barterhouse 20-year-old with the Rhetoric 20. Now, the crazy thing about these two guys is very, very similar. Very similar. Both are bottled, well, matter of fact, they're all bottled right at 90 proof. This is 90.7. This one, Barterhouse 20-year-old, is 90.2 proof. Rhetoric, 90 proof on the nose. And Lost Prophet, which just came out in my area within this past month of January, is bottled at 90.1 proof. So, very, very close in as far as proofing is concerned. The thing to note is that they do come from different distilleries. So even though Diageo and the Orphan Barrel Project all share the same name, these come from different distilleries simply because at the time when Diageo owned bourbon distilleries and they were actually producing whiskeys, they stored the barrels and they still have the barrels even though they've long sold or demolished the warehouses. Speaking of that, Old Bernheim, that's where this one came from in 1987 when it was distilled there. Old Bernheim stopped production in 88. This place closed down. Barrels sat in their Bernheim warehouses, which are brick lined, until 1999 when they moved to Stetzel-Weller. Now, Stetzel-Weller held them there for the additional 14 years until 2013 when they were bottled. Okay, so 26-year life, 14 years at Stetzel-Weller. Being steel-clad buildings. Those are metal, pretty rusty looking, but they're metal-lined warehouses. So that whiskeys tend to age a little bit faster there. All right, next up, Barterhouse, 20-year-old New Bernheim Distillery. So once this one was closed down, ended up tearing it down in 92. So around 93, this one was created, the New Bernheim. It actually aged there until 1995, so just 2 years at the old Bernheim masonry warehouses before it moved to Stetzel-Weller. So this one spent 18 years at Stetzel. All right. Next up, Rhetoric, 20-year-old. Very similar, almost identical in that, again, 1993 distillate. Both of these are 93. Both are 20-year-olds. Both moved to Stetzel-Weller. This one I can't find an exact date on when that happened, but I'm thinking it's probably went around the same time as this one. The only difference is the word is that this one could contain a little bit of New Bernheim and some Old Bernheim stocks. Okay, so maybe a mix of the two. Retailing $75, retailing $85. Finally, Lost Prophet. This one is a 22-year-old from a completely different distillery from the previous others. This is from the old George T. Stagg Distillery, which is now known as Buffalo Trace. Before that, the OFC Old Fire Copper. But what thing to note about this guy is that while it was aged there until 2006, all right, in 06, now Buffalo Trace is their warehouse, so the majority brick as well. But in 06, it actually ended up moving again to Stetzel-Weller. Okay, now rye mash bills. These guys, real quickly, 86% corn, 6% rye, and only 8% barley, all right? So high corn, kind of a low rye here. This one is different. This one's 75 to 80, 78% corn with about a 15% rye and a 7 to 10% barley, depending on how much corn they were using at the time. So high rye here. Very similar mash bill to Blanton's and Elmer T. Lee, which are wonderful bourbons in their own right. Now let's go ahead and get to the nosing. They've been opening up for about 5 minutes now. On the old Blowhard, 26-year-old. Wow. Definitely smell the sweet caramel with a heavy oak resin note coming through. Some citrus on there. Searching underneath, it's rather perfumey. It's with the way the red fruits and plums are in here on the nose, but they're combining with that oak resin, and it's just coming out of the glass. Very, like I said, very perfumey. Really nice on the nose, a little bit oak driven. Okay, Barterhouse 20-year-old. Still with a fair amount of oak in this one as well, but the brown sugar is bumped up. Maybe just a hint of orange peel in this one. This one felt a little more citrus notes. red berries, some plums, some clove, and definitely some cinnamon on that one. Alright, Rhetoric. Even though they're very closely related as far as distilling times and mash bill, they definitely don't smell the same. This one, a little lighter in profile. This one feels a little more balanced on the nose than the actual Barterhouse did. This one's a little heavier in the spice category than this one. This one does have a fair amount of citrus, vanilla, caramel, brown sugar. Not so much on the fruit. And on the nose, I'm getting a little bit of sweet oak, but it's not feeling over oaked by any means. Lastly, Lost Prophet, 22-year-old. Wow, that one's nice. This one is like a very well-rounded bourbon to me. On the nose, very, very sweet, very brown sugar. Some citrus, some vanilla, some dark fruit, some almost a mix of plums, stone fruits, some dates maybe, deep fruits. Just the right amount of caramel and brown sugar to match the oak profile. The oak does not feel overbearing, but it is there. You do notice it right away on the nose. Alright, so let's get to the tasting. Orphan Barrel. Let's see, 26-year-old Old Blowhard. Wow. It's 26 years old. Whoa. It is fairly oily, but wow, the oak here, very gripping. As it goes down, I do like the tobacco on the finish, but as it goes down, the first thing you notice is just the massive amount of oak tannins and oak that is coming through. You fight through that, you'll find some caramel, some roasted nuts in this one. This one definitely feels its age. Old leather. Not as much citrus on the flavor as I was getting on the aromatic. Maybe a touch of orange peel as far as the oils are concerned. As you get over that mid palate, it never feels sweet. It definitely feels oak driven. As we get into the secondary phase here, we're starting to find the tobacco, the bitter sweet chocolate. Yeah, bitter dark chocolate actually. Very light clove as well. Going into the old leather, the tobacco. Wow. It is very mature. It is very complex. I would say if you like old whiskeys, old bourbons, you might like this one. You probably would. It's one of these that you don't want to have multiple glasses of. I think one will do it for you on that one because it's very, very big and very... you need to sip that one. You need to take your time with it. It'll definitely dry you out if you're not careful because those oak tannins are definitely in there. Now let's get to the Barterhouse 20-year-old. Take a quick rinse on that one. Okay. Definitely less oak. Still not feeling very sweet as it's kind of smelt on the nose. But fairly creamy mouthfeel. When it enters, just a little brown sugar, a little caramel, a little bump up on the vanilla. Barrel char. I'm getting barrel char on this one. Not so much like oak tannins where they're drying you out, but you can actually taste the char. Almost like smoke. Again with the nuttiness. So this one Feels like this one had that real deep roasted nuts. This one has that element to it as well. Again with the orange peel, just a little orange oils on top of there. Not transitioning into tobacco as strongly as this one did, or the leather on the finish. You don't really quite get there with that 20-year-old aging there, I guess, on that one. Overall, pretty well rounded. Not really spectacular, but $75, you know, it is what it is. All right, Rhetoric, it will be next. Okay. It is similar. I think I enjoy it a little more than the Barterhouse already. Citrus bumped up even more than this one. A little more caramel. Hint of brown sugar. Definitely a good amount of cinnamon and clove, kind of swelling on that mid palate, but they don't get hot. Fairly sweet and creamy on the initial entry. I forgot to say that. Transitioning over the top, kind of has that bitter dark chocolate this one had, but it's more like a bitter sweet chocolate here. Searching the finish, starting to get the stone fruits coming through. They weren't really coming through initially. It was more about the caramel, vanilla, brown sugar with a little bit of citrus up front. Then it kind of crept into the oak character on the mid palate with the cinnamon and clove. And now on the finish, I'm searching for the tobacco. A little bit of the roasted nuts things again on that one as well. But it is definitely the sweetest of the previous two. Not bad. $85. Pretty well rounded. It feels a little old. It feels almost 20 years old. Not too dry, not too oak driven. I think that's a better balanced bourbon than even Barterhouse. A little sweeter. I think that helps balance out some of that oak and cinnamon and clove that comes on that mid palate. Finish, not so long. Not too complex on the finish. It's not really transitioning into anything. Maybe just a little bit of leather, and the citrus and the stone fruits with are kind of lingering as well. But you have to really search for those. All right, finally, Lost Prophet. All right. Yeah. Tell right away on the nose. Different animal. Let's see. Oh. Yep. One sip. I already know. We have a winner on the Lost Prophet. Perhaps the oiliest of them all. Wow. Very brown sugar, rich, deep caramel, leading into and ramping up as a little clove, a little cinnamon comes in. Rolls over the top as the oak creeps in, but the oak does not feel over oaked by any means. It's not too drying, it's not too tannic. Getting some tobacco, cigar on that finish. Wow. That's a good, well-rounded, aged bourbon right there. Wow. Even at only 90 proof, 90.1, still really nice, because I think if it was bottled at a higher proof, you'd probably need to add some water to help bring that heat down. Here it's almost perfectly balanced. Man, just the finish is crazy. As it ramps up, as you're creeping up towards that mid palate, where a little bit of that clove, little cinnamon come in to match up all that real big, bold brown sugar and oak that kind of comes in the front, and the vanilla and the caramel. Golly. And then it rolls over. Gosh. Wow, that one's good. Alright, I'm sorry, I got kind of lost. I'm thinking about all the different flavors and when they come in. Jeez, let me go back. Yes, definitely the oiliest. Brown sugar, oak, citrus. Almost has that perfumey feel that one had, as all the flavors mingle together. Very big, but without being hot. Fill your mouth, and they end up lingering for a very, very long time together. Fruits kind of come in, but they're feeling more like dried fruits. That's how they feel to me. They're not the star of the show. It's not the fruits. It's actually the amount of oak and caramel and brown sugar, almost like burnt brown sugar, where it's transitioning into caramel, is what I get on this one, without being overly sweet. That's the great thing. It's like perfectly balanced amount of sweetness. I'm sorry this video is taking so long, but wow. I mean, we have some really nice bourbons. Unfortunately, I definitely prefer this one over all of them, probably followed by Rhetoric. Then, depending on the mood, if you want something to actually drink and kind of enjoy, you might want to go this route. But if you want to really contemplate and don't mind really heavily oaked whiskeys, probably old Blowhard. But all around, wow, that's a very good one. Definitely worth the $120, I would say, for the price point right now. It is getting a little hard to find, but if you do see it out there, it just hit the shelves in my area in Texas, so hopefully you can get hold of one of those. Hope you enjoyed the video. Everybody have a great evening. Thank you for those comments, and cheers.